I'm not sure if some of the challenges that Jesus is presenting to the scribes and Pharisees, now they were the leaders of the people, good to remember that, and his cautions and revelations of what was happening within them, it's not very pretty, and yet it's done in the light of his loving mercy. So that is how sometimes the evil that we've been involved in or the sins that we've committed are brought to light, not primarily to make us feel bad, although maybe that's what might motivate us to change, but that it's done because he loves them. He wants them to join him in his ability to reveal the true image of God and what that might look like. And I sense that that's what St. Augustine learned in his life. He didn't have it figured out right away, we know that. His mother's tears, we hear of, were often falling into the ground as she prayed for him and his sinfulness and his waywardness. And we know that even in his academic training, he kind of cooperated with this group that thought there was this great distinction, that everything spiritual was holy and everything material, bodily, was evil. So he got headed down the wrong path. And yet somehow through that all, he was able to come to terms with it through the guidance of some of the other saints of the church. He had a witness and an image of where the true fulfillment was coming from and what was more consistent with reality. And we know that he had a moment of kind of mystical prayer, even as he was kind of walking down the wrong path, and the words that he heard were take and read. Ultimately, it was the scriptures that he was reading and then bringing him to conversion of heart, and that's what we've just shared together and what we have access to in ways that are very prevalent in today's world, even more than during St. Augustine's time, when it would have been pretty challenging to find a copy of the Bible. But nonetheless, his own conversion is now what we are influenced by, his growth from the things that were distant or separated from God. And I sense he invites us to both honor how that process has happened in our own life and then become like him, one who can teach, maybe not necessarily academically, although some of us might, but by the way that we live, by our trust in Jesus. And we can look to our past sins or failings as, okay, that's how I once was, and God didn't leave me there. God didn't leave him there and brought him now, as I said earlier, into being someone who impacted others, who continue to influences us, and it helps teach us, I sense, that we're not kind of just restricted to being people of our own age, but we have the beauty and the wisdom of the saints to teach us, to guide us, to nourish us, and help us then be that same proclamation of God's love to others in ways that are nourishing. I trust it's happened in your own life, even if you don't know about it, that other people have seen your faith and maybe thought, how do I get that? How do I become more like that person? So may that be a guide to us, not to say that we don't have work to do, but that God might continue to help us root our transformation in his love for us, his invitation to us to follow the example of the saints in ways that would lead to the transformation of those who encounter us, not just as individuals, but as a church, but also in our encounters with everyone we meet.